Hello and welcome to Should You Play, where we highlight the best and worst aspects of a video game, show spoiler-free gameplay and hopefully help our viewers avoid buyer's remorse.
Today we want to talk about Sea of Stars, a cross-platform retro-inspired turn-based RPG by Sabotage Studios. This indie surprise hit joins the likes of Octopath Traveler, Ys Origins, Chained Echoes and many others in their attempts to modernise classic RPG mechanics and pixel art.
Released in August 2023, Sea of Stars has gained top-tier review rankings thus far, and has demonstrated the enduring popularity of turn-based combat and pixel art style dungeon crawlers, so it's time that we put in our cents worth. Let's start by talking about the story and characters.
Sea of Stars tells the tale of two children of Solstice, Zale and Valere. Their collaboration of sun and moon powers enables the use of eclipse magic that can fend off evil monsters called Dwellers. Following a tragic incident in their hometown of Mooncradle Village, this magically inclined duo is enlisted into the Zenith Academy to hone their magic abilities. It's basically a boarding school in the sky for the magically inclined, so Sky Hogwarts I guess.
Once you get past the lengthy flashback and Zenith Academy intro, with tutorials and training sessions disguised, Zale and Valere set out to battle the supernatural and embark on your standard save the world from an epic evil main quest. This might sound like a tired trope, but Sea of Stars is a prequel set in the Messenger universe and is full of unexpected twists and turns.
We explore classic themes of adventure, friendship and good versus evil. Once you are free from tutorial land, the story begins to develop at a faster pace and several allies join the adventure. Sadly, the story arc is slightly undermined by the bland as hell main characters. Although Zale and Valere have an enduring and endearing friendship coupled with some amusing dialogue, this is where the game falls short.
Zale and Valere are just so dull, aesthetically and otherwise, and I found Garl to be an annoying ally with a death wish. They all have no depth and come across as one note, but luckily other elements of the game such as the puzzles, combat and exploration keep everything engaging. But perhaps this gripe is mainly down to my own personal preferences. I mean, I like a game to have voice acting and the ability to convey information accurately and concisely. Sea of Stars has no voice acting, and I find it difficult to assign personality to voiceless characters. There's also a lot of dialogue, particularly at the start. I'm not a big reader. If I was, then I would spend my time reading books instead of playing video games. When there is a lot of dialogue to read in a game, my cave woman brain instinctively tells me I'm bored, even if the story is fantastic. I realise that this is massively crippling for someone who enjoys JRPGs, but I have come to terms with this aspect of myself.
Unlike Heather, I am a reader and a writer, so I don't mind lengthy dialogue in games, providing the writing is good, the story is interesting and there's decent banter within a group dynamic. Sea of Stars checks all those boxes, so if you don't mind lots of dialogue to read and no voice acting, then great. There's definitely a lot of blabber in this game, but the writing is great. Everything said reinforces the game's themes, helps to establish characters' personalities and relationships, gives information, or serves as a narrative device.
Since we're getting the negatives out of the way before covering everything that makes this game special, another thing I take issue with is the levelling up system. It's too simplistic and feels restricting. There has been a clear attempt here to make an RPG-like game that is more palatable to the masses, which is fine, but it does leave me longing for a little more substance in this area.
Although simplicity of this kind can sometimes be refreshing, after playing games with complex RPG mechanics, if you are well versed in classic RPGs, it does feel very introductory. The level up system is comparable to Cat Quest, which is, let's face it, a cutesy baby game full of so many cringy cat puns.
You've got to be kidding me. Cat Quest is literally a pawsome game, despite Craig's meowthing off.
Ugh. Okay, we get it, put your claws away. In truth, the tools and magic you have in Sea of Stars more than makes up for the limited leveling up system. But let's move on and talk about one of the best aspects of the game, the combat.
The turn-based combat in Sea of Stars is a magic-infused, surprisingly complex system that spans across 6 playable characters with 4 spells or skills that have different damage types and patterns and can be combined with other characters' moves.
There are no random encounters, time bars, turn order restrictions or grinding requirements. You can tell that Sabotage Studios stripped out everything that makes players who prefer turn-based games grown and emphasised aspects that make it fun. No random encounters means that enemies have unique patterns, giving them an unpredictability only found in manually designed battles.
Enemies can be seen roaming around areas and, although they are often an environmental obstacle, they can be challenged or avoided in a similar vein to Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. Like in Chrono Trigger and Ys Origins, there's no disorienting shift to a battlefield that can pull you out of the action. Navigation and combat happen in the same environment with seamless transitions, which contributes to a more immersive experience.
Combat gameplay requires active player input of attack moves, planning and strategic defence. Players can make decisions at their own pace, and the order in which party members act is not predetermined.
The game uses timed button presses to increase damage output or reduce incoming damage, which makes battles feel more dynamic and keeps the player engaged while the action unfolds. This is a refreshing change, and I personally enjoyed playing Moonerang tennis with monsters. Every combat action can be influenced by syncing button presses with the live action.
Basic attack is the only normal physical attack in the game, and each hit restores free MP and generates live mana that can be absorbed and used to initiate boost attacks comparable to the Mystic Arts in the Tales of series and the boost gauge in the Ys series. You can stack up to 3 boost charges and unleash them when you want to amplify actions.
All battle actions generate combo points, or CP. CP can be used to unite 2 party members to blend skills and deal a massive amount of damage, like double tech in Chrono Trigger and boost strikes in Tales of Arise. CP can also be earned from breaking enemy locks.
The lock system in Sea of Stars is very interesting and is comparable to the break mechanic in Octopath Traveler. When monsters charge special attacks, locks will appear above the enemy with an icon that signifies the enemy's weakness. Breaking locks by dealing the corresponding damage type will weaken and cancel the special attack cast.
Utilising the combo skills and time strikes are particularly useful for breaking locks. It is an interesting mechanic that adds an extra layer to combat. However, the frequency of locks appearing can significantly lengthen the combat pace. The game will benefit from reducing the frequency, because having to break locks every single battle makes even regular encounters more demanding and lengthier.
Although the combat is demanding with a consistent challenge throughout as your characters grow stronger, this turn-based system with action prompts creates a satisfying and fun experience. We could go into much more depth with the combat system, but the only other thing we want to mention is the KO system.
In most games, you need to revive allies using an item if their HP reaches 0. But this is not the case with Sea of Stars. When an ally is KO'd, KO stars appear and 1 star is removed each round. Once the stars disappear, the ally will get back up on their own.
Next, let's talk about the general gameplay, because the gameplay is by far the best aspect of the game. Sea of Stars offers unshackled traversal around a breathtaking world that demonstrates the sheer beauty of modern 2D pixel art that incorporates dynamic lighting from a tailor-made rendering process.
I've personally found myself being drawn to this kind of art style recently, and the gameplay being a satisfying blend of exploration, puzzles and combat makes this game highly appealing. You can navigate areas that have platforming elements but is free from tile-based movement. You can swim, jump, climb and use acquirable key items and magical tools to manipulate the environment. For example, early in the game you gain the ability to progress the time of day so that you can use daylight or moonlight to trigger changes in the environment.
These elements enable the player to explore every nook and cranny, and although the puzzles are not particularly challenging, this interactive gameplay is reminiscent of classic Zelda games. Outside exploring and the main story questline, there is a lot of things to do. There is fishing, collectibles, side quests and a board game called Wheels. It all contributes to a world that feels more fleshed out.
We only have a few minor gripes, the first being that the game has some odd perspectives. Due to the 2D presentation, it's sometimes difficult to see platforms because they just don't look like platforms. It's like an optical illusion. Outside towns and dungeons, the world map perspective is also strange, with everything shrunken down. However, this is par for the course for these kinds of games. I have always found it odd.
Secondly, unlike Trials of Mana, Dragon Quest, Skyrim and, well, most RPGs to be honest, the books you can read on the shelves at the Zenith Academy have no information in them. It's strange that you are given the option to read the book and are then just told the book's title instead of being given any insight into this seemingly lore-rich world. Sabotage really missed a trick there.
And finally, there are no mini-maps or compasses for dungeons, towns or the overworld, or quest tracking. Instead, Sea of Stars allows players to uncover secrets unaided. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing is down to the individual. Having a locked minimap on the screen can hinder immersion and discovery, but there are other means of assisting with navigation. A compass would have been a good compromise, or something simplistic and unimposing, like the wind mechanic in Ghost of Tsushima.
Having no minimap or compass does not ruin the gameplay since exploration is linear. It feels like a seamless experience and a complete map can be accessed after defeating the first dweller. The only other thing we want to highlight about Sea of Stars is the beauty, and not just visually due to the chosen art direction. The music and sound effects are excellent. The game is full of beautiful musical scores that captures the game's tone perfectly and is appropriate for what's happening on screen. Unlike the battle music in Dragon Quest, which made both of us chuckle at how out of place it felt.
Sea of Stars delivers a wonderful collection of tracks which capture the vibe and suits the nostalgia-fueled visuals of the game. An example of this is the Mooncradle score, which sounds magical, relaxing, and gives off an air of innocence to accompany a flashback to when the main characters were younger.
The game's audio was designed to modernise music and sound effects from the bygone era, which means using identifiable SNES instruments to dominate the foreground of musical scores with additional layers using contemporary production techniques. It's a very intelligent approach that allows for the audio to link with the game's design by means of parallel soundtracks that mirror day and night cycles in outdoor areas.
The music has a lot of personality. The soundtrack features music from Eric Brown, who wrote the music for The Messenger, and guest tracks from the composer behind Chrono Trigger and Shadow Hearts, Yasunori Mitsuda. The music and ambient sounds seamlessly match the player experience, and the sound effects are excellent. I love the sounds that accompany attacks, especially the increasing intensity of a well-timed moonerang back and forth, and the sound of absorbing the live mana. It's brilliant. So, should you play Sea of Stars? Definitely, especially if you are a fan of games like Dragon Quest, Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy, Ys Origins, The Legend of Zelda, Octopath Traveler and Chrono Trigger.
Sea of Stars is currently available on PC, PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Series X and S. I love it when a game isn't a console exclusive and grants access to all gamers instead of fueling the ridiculous console wars. Furthermore, the game is currently available on PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass, so if you have a subscription then there's no reason why you can't give this game a go.
If you have already played Sea of Stars, then let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel because it really makes a difference to us small YouTubers. I've been Heather.
And I've been Craig.
This is Amalgamingle and thanks for watching.